Well, hey, howdy, Sister Amanda. Here we are. Let me show you, pardon me, where we're at on your project. We talked about these two units. They were separated, and I originally thought that it was a pressure fit that held them together. Um, but as I got more into the mechanics of this, I realized that these two units had to be firmly attached. The reason being is this little knob here has a needle valve that goes down into this unit. I'll show you where in a minute. Um, to shut it off, you have to screw it all the way down, which would apply pressure to this bottom one, and it could cause the two to separate. So we talked about epoxy and other stuff. I said, what the heck, let's just do it. So I soldered it. I don't know, you probably can't even tell where it's soldered, but I got a good waterproof solder in there, and it should hold just fine. The way this thing works is this upper font is filled with water. The lower font screws on pretty well. And there's a rubber gasket in here so that when these are screwed together, it's an airtight fit. Now inside that lower container is this gadget. Now when we got it, this spring was broken off, and it's critical that that spring was in the right position. So I had to resolder that spring on. And the reason being is this spring keeps this unit pressed together. Now, what happens is you put your carbide in here. Carbide comes in little pellets. So you put your dry carbide in there. This ramrod goes over the carbide. Then it sits in here and you screw this in. What's nice about this setup is that your carbide mixing chamber is a separate unit from the bottom of your font. Most of the original carbide lamps, the mixing just took place in here. The carbide would build up as it was used and corrode it. So this protects that. Now, the way it works is when water comes out of this little guy here and drops in there, it releases the acetylene gas. Now, one of the problems we had was this little centerpiece was all crunched up because the spring wasn't holding it in place, and somebody tried to put it together crooked and crushed this and this little orifice there. I straightened all of that out. Now, this little dial controls how much water drips into the carbide. The more water, the more carbide is released and the brighter your flame is. Now I'm going to show you this. I don't know if it's going to show up on the video because it's kind of a... This is in the closed position. You twist that all the way to the right. You know, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So one click, no water. 2 clicks, no water yet. 3 clicks. See, the water is starting to drop in slowly. Can you see that? That would be activating the carbide. Open up a couple more clicks. Water's dropping even more. Open it up all the way, you got a Niagara Falls, and your carbide just going to go crazy. So this is the deal. When these guys wanted to go for a ride at night, they had to take this little filler cap off, somehow get water in there. What I use a lot of these in the workshop. I just squirted some water in there and closed it up. And this just screws in. The upper font is not an airtight thing because the water has to be able to drip out. So there's a little nostril right there. Now the thing was, pardon me, I had to take this all apart and figure out the adjustment on your little clocking dial. I had to reset that so it would actually be off in the off position and on in the on position. So that's how far we are tonight. When you put this back together, you want to make sure you put this on real nice and straight. And if you don't feel any resistance, it's seated correctly. If you try to get this on and it doesn't feel right, don't force it. Just set it in. When it feels right, you just screw it together. Now imagine this being attached to a bicycle and having to do all this farting around. Anyway, so your lamp unit is going to go over. This is where the carbide gas will come out. And when it's assembled, it's coming out in here. This opens. We'll get into that when I light it. But this opens, you light it, then you close it. So that's how far we are. It's too late at night for me to do something technical like trying to figure out the correct carbide load and all that. So I'm not going to light it today. I just want to let you know how far we are. We're making pretty serious progress. It should be fine with the exception of missing the rest of this little ceramic burner. I imagine if you keep a close eye on eBay for the rest of your life, you'll probably be able to find one. Anyway, that's where we're at. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.